session around what ACCA brings to the individuals in becoming professionals, and how those skills and competencies then get translated into uh, value creation at your respective employers, or even if tomorrow you intend to set up your own businesses and be an entrepreneur, and a very successful entrepreneur at a very young age like Mr. Mubashir Dargi. So we'll keep it very simple. We'll try to begin with the curriculum that ACCA imparts to its students during the student journey. And then, as you're all aware, that once you pass your 14 papers and uh, complete your ethics module, you become affiliates, and after that, with three years of recognized practical experience, you become members, which is the ultimate objective of anybody pursuing ACCA. If we look at the topics that are covered in the professional level papers, it's all around governance, risk, ethics, corporate reporting, business analysis, financial management and advanced financial management, performance management, and taxation. So all these papers, and last but not the least, advanced audit and assurance. So if you look at all these papers, they entail topics and they entail material and content which empowers you with information, which empowers you with knowledge, which empowers you with application in how to deal with real life situations when you're working at your respective employers, or even if you have set up your own uh, business, you've set up your own service oriented organization. So anything that you do, so all these 7 papers and the topics that are covered within these have a certain objective behind it. Recently, we did this exercise with the banking sector here in Karachi, and we were asked about a very straightforward and pertinent question, that what do ACCS bring to the banking sector in terms of the competencies and the skills. So if I can just share with you, within the banking function, the most critical the functions that the banking companies have revolve around 7 to 8 divisions, as they call it: corporate banking, investment banking, treasury and financial institutions, accounts and financial reporting, internal audit, compliance and controls, consumer and commercial banking, credit and risk, and obviously the secretarial work, which is all around corporate secretarial practices. So if you see that, so we were asked that if I were to engage an ACC or a group of ACCs within the corporate banking team. So this is a banking president speaking to us and asking us that if I were to get my corporate banking team beefed up and have ACCs in them, so how does ACC's curriculum map with the banking role? So obviously, when you share with them that you have the depth of governance, risk, and ethics covered in your curriculum, which is tested in very detail during your examination, corporate reporting is very, very correlated with corporate banking, because when you're lending and when you are advancing money to potential borrowers, you need to have a clear understanding of how the corporate report has been drawn and how accurate that corporate report is. The ability to analyze the business of your borrower, the ability to analyze the sector, the businesses within that sector, so that you're comparatively able to rank your borrower. And then financial management. Financial management is the ability to understand how the cash flows operate, how the cash flows are timed, whether they happen at the start of the year, they happen regularly every month, whether they are a quarter-end phenomena, and performance management. Performance management is the ability to be able to analyze the business in terms of its core KPIs. For example, if you're lending to a manufacturing concern, you're able to understand their complete supply chain from buying raw materials to work in progress to converting that into finished goods to distributing that to your distributors, whether you are a direct retail distributor or whether you operate through wholesalers or whether you have your own outlets or whether it's a B2B business to business transaction. So you should be able to understand whether the organization in terms of its forecast of sales, whether it in terms of forecast of its revenues, its cash flows will have sufficient net cash flows to be able to service the bank. So this is, and obviously last but not the least, every sector has their peculiar taxation dynamics. So as professional accountants, what do we bring to the corporate banking team? The ability to relate taxation nuances, peculiarities with the cash flows, with the organization's ability to draw its financial statements, to be able to give its statement of financial performance, to be able to come up with its statement of affairs or balance sheet. So this is, everything is correlated. So this is something that we felt that in today's topic, when we have very senior and experienced members and working professionals like Mr. Mubashir Dagia, that you're able to understand that everything that this qualification imparts to you during the student journey has a very clear and direct linkage with your future employment, with your ability to be an entrepreneur in the future, in your capacity as a consultant, as an advisor. There's something that our Chief Executive, Mr. Sajid Aslam, continuously brings across as a message to all professional accountants, irrespective of which body they relate to, that we at the end of the day are advisors, we are taken to be as experts. So any employer, any third party, any customer that utilizes our services assumes that we are an expert and whatever advice we give will have an impact which they believe, or the sort of impact that they believe would be positive for that organization, for that segment, for that business decision. So this is where we wanted to start, and if I continue, so if you look at the same seven papers, obviously going forward in September 2018, as you're all aware, that P1 and P3 will be merged into one paper. So still, these seven separate papers will equip you even to become treasurers, to be able to look at how the banks operate within their financial institutions department, how the banks go in for overnight lending or borrowing, how the money market operates. So this is all relevant to, related to what in ACCA brings in terms of the competency to any employer. So if we look at I've identified two functions so far: corporate banking and investment banking, and the other is treasury and financial institutions. We have identified how the curriculum empowers you, but what is the skill set? So they said, okay, this is your curriculum, these are the functions, but what do ACCS bring? We said detailed orientation. We say analytical and relationship management skills, business analysis of variables such as clients' financial conditions, economic conditions, sectoral economic conditions, industry review, the ability to analyze the risk and to be able to understand the regulatory framework. Liquidity, financial positions, the ability to manage your finances through different financial management products and tools, the ability to trade, the ability, last but not the least, this is something which is very important that all of us have experienced in our practical life, and you will as well, that relationship management skills internally as well as externally will be the reason that you will progress in your practical life. So that means that you should have the ability to understand your stakeholders, whether that's within the organization, your peer, your subordinate, your superior, whether that's cross-functional, and you should also be able to understand the needs of your external stakeholders, which could be your customers leading to receivables, So if you don't have a happy customer, you will have very little probability of them paying back. If then in terms of vendors, payables, you need to have fantastic working relationship with your creditors in addition to the technical stuff, so that you're also able to understand their business cycles, and then you accordingly uh, chart or frame your own policies. So this is something which you will feel relationship management. This will be at the top of the grid. There's this very generic Facebook or LinkedIn visual that majority of the deals are one. There was this exercise. There was this. The analysis that was taken, that how do people end up successfully negotiating deals, and how much of that successful negotiation is related to personality or the ability to negotiate, and how much of that is attributable to technical skills. So the study which has been done by one of the Ivy League universities suggests that 15% of the that 15% is the component for successfully negotiating something, and that 15% component is technical, and the remaining 85% is all about relationship management, ability to communicate, the ability to present. So this is what we feel that needs to be shared. Technically, we are very superior. Now, ACCS or any professional accountant out there within the ecosystem is also being competed with by university graduates. So what is it that university graduates bring to the table, bring to the employer? All these things that I've just mentioned. So internal audit is another area, compliance and controls, like I mentioned, commercial and consumer and commercial banking. So a lot of people don't realize that bank assurance, insurance products, mutual funds, these are very, very strong product components that are now part of the banking product suite, which are offered to their depositors, their customers. So unless and until you know that what sort of taxation governs your customer, what sort of benefit that financial product brings in terms of risk profiling, in terms of goals profiling, in terms of duration of investment. So these are again skills which the ACC competencies bring forward. Credit and risk, obviously, this is something which is very related to control, and you will see that a lot of the professional accountants find their way into this area within organizations. And last but not the least, company secretary. A lot of people don't realize that it is no more an era where you'll have lawyers or only pure lawyers who will be the company secretary of big, large organizations. You will see a lot of chartered accountants, you would see a lot of ACCAs, you would see a lot of ICMAs. So in short, you'll see a lot of professional accountants taking on this dimension, because again, you cannot be a company secretary if you only know about the law. It has to be related to the operations of the company. And again, one of the slogans of ACCA in the recent years has been business relevant professionals. So it's all around business relevance. So with this, I'll actually with this slight introduction in terms of how the curriculum leads to a skill set development within the ACCS, and what sort of functions ACCS would then become relevant within the banking community or banking sector. I'll hand over the conversation to my colleague, Mr. Mubashir Bhagia, who will take you further in terms of what are the other areas that you need to look at in terms of your career choice, the sort of guidance that you look at. Dear
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. In fact, very thoughtful discussion you have started. I fully agree that the qualification, the ACC qualification, in fact, it really helps us in terms of being an all-rounder in the profession. And I remember back in probably 2-3 years ago, I was in a conference in UK, and I was in fact I was presenting the concept of accountants as an all-rounder, the ECC as an all-rounder, and I gave an example of an of running in a hospital by an accountant, and the person next to me who was sitting I didn't know him actually. When I ended the conversation, he stood up and he said he was the MD of a King's College Hospital, London, and he was an ACCA member. So that really proves that the qualification ACCA is an all-rounder. It really equips us with every skills the board actually needs at the moment, right? Starting with ethics, that's actually heart of it. We have a separate module on it, and no, but no, not other any accountancy body in the world probably has it in that way, being a separate contents for members to come up with. And the ACC was also equipped with accountancy, with knowledge, with the standards, with audit proficiencies, taxation issues, and it also equipped us with the information technology. What's happening around the world, and also equip us with in terms of technological advancements. It really makes it all rounder. Now the thing now the question comes is, once we are as a member, I mean, when you become a member, what opportunities do you have? There are two things. I mean, either you go this way towards job, you may be looking at for some multinational company or any other local organizations. The other option is entrepreneurship. Now, I would like to share some really surprising facts. I mean, if you talk about the Western world, I mean, the Americas and Europe and the Europe, 70% of the professions, I mean, once they have graduated, they opt for entrepreneurship. That is something which really helps being as a member of an accountancy body which is connected around the world. And we are at the moment living in the emerging market. Pakistan is the emerging market, right? And it really gives us an advantage being an ECCF members and connected with the globe to look up for the avenues of entrepreneurship. Now, what entrepreneurship actually is, I mean, I can just ask the participants online if you can just write a single line. What entrepreneurship is? I mean, what do you think? What entrepreneurship is? Right? I'll then review it later. Now, many people, some people think that entrepreneurship is something related to Silicon Valley's startups, and the others may be thinking about owning a single shop at the corner of the street. So it's actually it runs in both ways. It's actually a mindset and a way of thinking, the ability to think and live your dreams. It's not about imagining new ideas, coming up with new ideas, solving problems, and and sharing new ideas, whatever you have in mind. I mean, which could add value in terms of it could be a service related thing, or it may be a product which you can introduce it. Now this is obviously, I mean, some members think that if you are come up with an idea, right, it's just that it makes you an entrepreneur. So that's not the main thing. I mean, actual things actually start afterwards. If you have any idea in mind, the next thing is always how you can give that idea. What will be your customer base? How you're going to target your customer? How you will be able to offer that product or service in an affordable way to your customers? That really matters. I mean, there are many questions attached to entrepreneurship. It's not just only that if you have come up with an idea, okay, I'm going to do this, but okay, the idea, for example, ABC, whatever the idea is, if you think that's going to work out, the actual thing starts after that. And there are 5 key factors. I mean, I've seen actually for about 10 years I've been in entrepreneurship, and as an entrepreneur, I say that you have to learn from others' failure. Go and Google it. You will see hundreds of examples of entrepreneurs' failures. Learn from those mistakes. Number 2 is always make sure that you live your dream. I mean, someone should not be dictating you that you have to choose this part or this concept or this product. You should live your dream. I mean, if you are offering any service or any product which will add value, if you think that will add value in the market and you own it and you love it the way you do it, then only you will be able to get success. Otherwise, you won't be able to get success. Number 3 is always try to solve problems. Now, as I said earlier, we are in the emerging market. We have thousands of, if you just Google it, the way the industry works in Europe, in East Asia, or America, maybe you can replicate those, pinpoint those concepts, those works, those processes, those products, and introduce those things in Pakistan in a customized way. It always not possible that you can just pick something and just implement it here. Obviously, you can restructure it. You have to restructure it to to make that thing feasible for the local market. So that local psyche is always different. We are South Asian, right? So obviously there are hundreds of things. Like I given my example in data recall. When I was there in East Asia, and I saw these services, the data management, the document management thing. It was some sort of thing which is, it was a billion-dollar industry there at that moment. And in Pakistan, there was no concept of data management. What I did complete research there in Singapore and Malaysia, and brought back the research in Pakistan, and then we did the local research. We went to the CFOs, the CEOs of and MDs of various companies in Pakistan, and we got the feedback back in 2005. Then we altered, restructured those things which were actually being offered in those developed countries. We restructured it and introduced it here in Pakistan. Obviously, initially there was a bit hurdle. People were not ready to accept it, because this was something new for them. How it's going to be accepted by a local industry? Sorry. So that's where the point comes in. As I studied earlier, you have to choose a customer base. So we start searching the customer base. Earlier we were targeting the local market, then we decided to target the foreign companies. Since in the foreign companies, there were those CFOs. They had their they used to visit their parent companies abroad, and they had these data management ideas there. So they were aware of this thing, that this is something which is being practiced in first world countries. So they were a bit lenient towards accepting, and that was the point it kicked in. The multinational company first came to me, and it started accepting the way I was introducing data management to them. And at the moment, even the textile industry in Pakistan, they are also coming to us towards and interesting my company for data management. So it's all changed the psyche of the local people. So you have to be dedicated. It's a 10 years journey, maybe 12 years. Yeah, I started in 2005. It's a 12-year journey. Initial years are always hard, but you have to live by it. And you have to be passionate about the way you're going to be doing or performing your work, and always get advice with your mentors. We at ACCA, the MNP, Member Secretary Panel, the Secretariat, we are all available here anytime. We have even started with the group. This name is Business Mind. If you're not a member of that WhatsApp group, you must become one. You can just write it here, maybe in this window, and drop your mobile number so that we can add you to that group, right? And share your ideas with us, and we are here to guide you. Even when I started back in 2005, I used to take guidance from the ACC Secretary here, from Arif Mirza Saab, obviously Harun Jan Saab was there, and some of my teachers who were also ACCA member. So mentorship is must. You cannot roam here and there just being alone. Choose your mentor, choose your right mentor, go and discuss your ideas with him or with her, obviously, and then step forward. We are here to encourage ACCA members to choose the other way around. Obviously, the job market is there, but if you are passionate about the future, you must choose the other path, that is entrepreneurship. And as I said in the start, 80% of the millionaires in America are first millionaires. They didn't inherit anything. They are the entrepreneurs. 80% of the Americas and Europe's obviously millionaires, they are the first millionaires. They didn't inherit anything. They are entrepreneurs. And 100% of the billionaires in the world, they are entrepreneurs. I mean, they didn't inherit anything. They are entrepreneurs. 100% of the billionaires around the world, they are entrepreneurs. So the facts and figures are with you. You just have to believe in you, come up with ideas, Google it, what's happening around the world, and then introduce those services in Pakistan. Or you may come up with any funky type of ideas which can add maybe value in someone's system. We are here to assist you and available anytime.
Thank you much, Mubashir. We have one of the members who has joined us in person here at the office. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Hassan Aziz Hashmi, and I became member in November 2016, and I'm appearing in CFC exam as well. So I just one paper left. Currently, I'm working in DWP Group, which is known for like grey air conditioners and EcoStar LEDs. I'm working as an assistant manager intern audit. Okay, I've been working here for like 2 years. Like I'm just looking after the whole South region because our head office is in Lahore. So that's why I have been working here. It's
So you're looking after the South Finance,
South internal audit.
South Internal Audit. Okay, fantastic. I think a few takeaways from what just Bashir Dagya shared, learn from other people's failures. You need to be able to know what is happening around the world so that if you want, and there are two routes he mentioned, right? One is obviously to work for others, and the other is to work for yourself. A very important point raised by him, and it's a very recent study that 80% of the millionaires in the US are first generation millionaires. And he was very right that all the billionaires in the world have never aspired to excel working for others, and they are entirely entrepreneurs. The very important, another important point that you people are professional accountants, you are endorsed by a globally recognized body, so you are expected to be problem solvers. So instead, so a lot of the times you will face situations, and every day the situations are evolving. So there will be no situation like before. So every time you'll have to apply all this skill set. So unless and until you are, even as an entrepreneur or as an employee, you are expected to be able to resolve the situations to the best benefit to you of yourself, whether it's your organization or of the organization that you're working in. And last but not the least, I think you said so many great things, but for me, it's very important to be able to know or to have a mentor in life, to be able to refer to somebody who can unconditionally advise you and who can have really difficult conversations with you. We as humans, and I would say definitely as professional accountants, don't like to be challenged. We do not like to be shared information that makes us believe that we know less or we need to know more. Every day it's about knowing more, because whatever Mubashir Dagia just shared, you can well imagine that a concept that was initiated in 2005 then is now successfully in its organic growth stage and multiplying or growing multifold, had so many teething problems. So to get an idea, to be able to tailor that through a local research, to make it relevant or feasible to the local customer, and still to be able to customize it to make it relevant. And within this whole 10 years, Nokia does not exist as the preferred mobile device. So you need to be totally at uh, uh, you guys need to subscribe to this thing that this is the age of disruption. Whether that's happening through technology, whether that's happening through new ideas, whether that is happening through young individuals who are challenging the old status quo and asking for things to be done differently. 10 years back, metro was the biggest thing, or 15 years back, metro was the biggest thing that happened to Karachi, and then was followed in other cities in Pakistan. That you could have a centralized cab service which was not yellow, which was not dirty, and which did not have a car which was roaring rather than purring. So now you have Kareem and other organizations which are totally operating through a software. So they don't own a single vehicle, yet they are controlling the entire transport or ride sharing service in various jurisdictions that they're working. So I think, and all of this, I think, brings us to another point that I thought that I'll pick on the top three: IT, information technology. It is the biggest enabler or disabler. The difference between the longest serving mobile corporate brand, BlackBerry, versus the Samsung's was the software, the Android system. So that was the single biggest differentiation, but it happened. So this is uh, this is the other dimension of being professionals. You see, once you become a professional accountant, that is the doorway into the professional life. But then you are in a professional environment. You are interacting with engineers. You are engineering with people who started are qualified doctors, but are great business development people. You are interacting with people who started off as engineers, but are fantastic risk analysts. They are fantastic business analysts. You started off with people who were professional accountants but are now running the business development show, are now running the fund management or treasury of organizations. So this is the diversity that you need to adapt to. So once you enter an organization, you're a professional accountant. But after that, you have to compete with all the professionals around you, irrespective of which discipline they represent. So we can not get any brownie points anymore. The professional accountancy got you the job or got you to sit in front of the interview. But what you bring after that is your ability to be very fluid in terms of adjusting, in terms of being very market aware, in terms of knowing how you can progress and evolve within that organization, within that function, within that sector, and to be able to relate uh, other sectors to your organization. The biggest example of that is that about 7, 8 years back, there was no concept of easy pasa. It was how did people send money across different cities? The easiest way to do that was to go to a post office and do a money order. But who took that space away? That space was taken away by a microfinance bank, which floated this idea that since mobiles have the ability to be now connected to bank accounts and they have the ability to pay your utility bills, so can we add more value to this service? Can we take it to the next level? So they came up with this concept that you can physically transport money, now, which would have been such a difficult task. Somebody sitting here in Karachi and sending money across to the northernmost part of Pakistan. You have one post office, and that too limited timing. So if you miss the day, you cannot get the money from the post office. So now it's much more flexible. So flexibility is another thing that we as professionals need to look at. So these are the generic principles and specific advice that you got from one of the great ambassadors of the ACCA qualification and the organization in Pakistan, and not just in Pakistan. You would be, you shouldn't be surprised to know that he has been internationally covered by ACCA as one of the members who has been able to create an influence and is influencing other members irrespective of the jurisdictions that we're on. Next, we started off obviously on a slightly regimented segment where we try to understand what our curriculum adds to us in terms of competencies and how those competencies translate into skill sets and how those skill sets become relevant to various functions within any sector. And we picked on banking. And trust me, it's if you are very relevant to a bank, you have a huge space out there in terms of the insurance companies, in terms of asset management companies. Who may not have heard of mutual funds in today's world? You would have heard about investment banks. You would hear about all these microfinance banks. So all these functions and transactions are very similar to these sectors as well. So that's a huge specialized area that you will see a lot of ACCAs working, and we have got many approved employees in that space. And surprisingly, we have got an equal number of non-approved employees who are relying on the ACCA talent, both in the trainee stage when you are affiliates your colleagues or your fellow stakeholders, and even when they become members. So now, yes, what we are trying to do is to create that equivalence in terms of recognition that ACCAs are no less than any other professional accounting body, and if not better. So that is something that we have been gradually able to implement and achieve. We're very pleased to share with you that based on all the efforts, National Bank of Pakistan for the first time set up its trainee scheme and hired 60 individuals across its internal audit function across Pakistan. HBL is one of the largest approved employers, and it's a platinum approved employer. And members and affiliates put together, there are over 125 members and affiliates that work for Big Bank Limited across Pakistan. Then another, I would say, very value-added relationship that ACCA affiliates have had in terms of their training is Pakistan International Airlines, where you get a very unique skill set. Over there, I remember that one of the affiliates who was working over there, in fact, she was a lady, and she said that I'm very unhappy with the allocation that PIA's team has done for me. And I said, where are you working? She said, I work in the refunds department. And I said, okay, so how many people are there in your team? She said, 10 people. And I said, how many refunds do you claims do you manage in a year? She said, over 10 billion rupees. So if 10 billion rupees is the refund, so that is equal. There are not even many large companies out there who can boast a total revenue of 10 billion rupees. And you as an individual have been given the responsibility to learn the peculiar dynamics of refund, which involves the international agency for travel agents, that IATA, all these rules. So how transferable that skill set is, that whether you're working for PIA, tomorrow you can work for Emirates, and God bless you, never know that you set up your own airlines. But all these experiences need to be valued. We are too much caught up at times in our awareness, which may not be the best guide. It's always great to discuss, and two minds will always be better than one. So moving on to the next segment. Yesterday, if I can, sorry, Hassan Hashmi, were you at the tax bar seminar yesterday? It's a familiar face. The reason that I started with him was that he took advantage that for the first time Pakistan, the Karachi Tax Bar Association ventured into a partnership with ACCA to jointly host this workshop slash seminar on pre-tax proposals. So we had the honorable member of the Federal Board of Revenue present over there. We had the big four partners leading their taxation space. We had tax practitioners and lawyers, and we had other firm representatives, and we had employers who were sitting over there along with a very respected panelist. So we had a great presentation on indirect taxation, direct taxation by the Karachi Tax Bar. Then we had a fantastic setting the scene by Harun Ahmed Jan, your and mine head of member affairs, in terms of what ACCA brings on the table and how it is differentiated in terms of its philosophy of taxation, and how professional governing bodies in the Karachi, in the Tax Bar Association, can collaborate to have uh, proposals that are very relevant and yet are accepted because of the voice synergy that the two organizations make. And then we had another MNP member, Mr. Umar Zaid, who very eloquently furnished ACCA's taxation proposals. So, so the feedback that we got yesterday was that everybody liked the way ACCA presents things. Everybody likes the way that ACCA creates the proposal. Everybody likes the way that we create uh, those statistics around which a certain proposal is built. And a lot of, I would say, commendation goes to the taxation working group head, Mr. Umar Zaid, who is a fellow member of Mr. Mubashir Zakir on the member network panel, and along with his team of five young ACCAs who volunteered to work on that. So moving on. So why did I bring this up? Taxation is another area where we get a lot of feedback, both from the employers as well as the members themselves, the ACCA members, that we as ACCAs are not equipped to handle the taxation. So if I can share with Mr. Ask one question to Mr. Mubashir Dagia. Did you take the Pakistan variant of taxation or the international variant?
Oh, at that time, there was no concept of local variant.
Yes.
I chose international.
So you can later ask Mr. Dagia that how can he understand the Pakistani law or taxation if he has taken the taxation variant. So I'll refer you. I am by profession. I'm from the same profession as yourself, but I obviously am not in ACCA. So during my articles and before that, when we were doing taxation, so I remember that one of our partners, who was also our teacher, came up with a fantastic way to approach taxation. He said taxation is not all about knowing taxation; it is knowing where to refer within the taxation laws. So we are not expected to learn by heart the taxation provision. We are not expected to learn by heart the taxation rates, but we should be very quick and adept at referring to the relevant chapter, the relevant section, the relevant rule of or pertinent to what we are looking for. So this is what taxation is all about. And in yesterday's feedback during the session, I think one of the things that ACC has now requested is that for sales tax auditability, ACCA members are recognized within the income tax law to conduct the sales tax audit, as is the privilege given to other professional accounting bodies within Pakistan. So, in terms of taxation, again, how can I be a good taxation expert if I don't know about my company, or if I don't know about the sector, or if I don't know about my customer's business, or if I don't know uh, about the market dynamics? So this is something that I think that uh, you would see that a lot of our CPD sessions are aimed at keeping you abreast or at par with the taxation changes that are happening or the taxation provisions. But simultaneously, there's a request that you guys need to be very self-confident that if you know what the income tax ordinance looks like, you should be able to, through the table of contents, be able to go to the relevant section. Nobody would expect you to be citing PLDs or the detailed tax laws. That is why you hire a tax firm. But you have to be fantastic tax planners. You should be able to know what are the provisions that impact your future products, your cash flows, any changes to regulatory environment that can impact your the way you manufacture your product. So this is what taxation helps us with as professional accountants. Not everybody would end up as a tax partner at a firm, and you would see that there's a very limited percentage, even of other bodies who choose to stay back at within the public practice and specialize in taxation. But it's all around being aware of and everything is now so easily available. You go to the FBR website, you have got all the laws, the latest updated versions, and you don't even have to go the original route where you have to change the pages within your physical book of the amendments. You will find the amended version uploaded 3 months or 2 months after the proposals are accepted by the parliament. So without further ado, there's one thing that we can pick up a little more. We were expecting that within the public practice, there's a lot of focus. You would be happy to know that within Pakistan there's this concept which is picking up, which is outsourcing and shared services. So within the shared services, there's a lot of appetite within Pakistan. But there are a lot of employers who have hired ACC especially to offer those outsourcing services to their clients outside Pakistan. So this is an area which I'm sure that has been picked up in the previous evening huddles as well. But this is the message that we continuously want to take to yourselves and ensure that you are aware that this is one area. So if you even have to advise your clients, your organizations, every organization is converging towards shared services or majorly towards outsourcing, where the organization focuses on its core and leaves the non-core activities to specialists. So with that, I think, Mubashir, if there's anything that you would like to add to that.
No, that's I think all of it. And again, I'll request all the members present here to drop their mobile numbers in this window so that you can be added to the group of entrepreneurs. And thank you very much for joining. So that brings us to an end. Today's session.
So we'll be moving on to the question and answers. So it would be great if you could share your questions and we'll respond to them. And be very candid. Just don't hold back any questions. It's best that uh, when we step away from this conversation, we are able to have majority of our questions asked. Whether we get the answers to our satisfaction or not, that's another thing altogether.
वालेकुम सलाम रिजवान यार आप इसका वेबिनार पे आना क्वेश्चंस आप डिक्टेट कर लोगे उनको पार्टिसिपेंट्स को आंसर देता हूं क्योंकि हमारा सिस्टम शायद है हमारे पास ब्रेन लग रहा है लेकिन हमारा सिस्टम
Yes, mouse नहीं चल रहा सिस्टम, माउस नहीं चल रहा सिस्टम.
ठीक है
हाँ, अभी वो वेबिनार है.
रिजवान बताइए
घूम गया.
घूमेंगे
आप एक दफा इसको बहुत से सेल लगा के
मैं यही कर रहा था बोला चलिए
So the question is really once again कि और ऑफिस में क्या?
Assalamualaikum. I hope you can hear me. I'm Rizwan Ahmed from ACC Office Lahore. Mr. Dil Nasir has a question for us. He's asking, is ACC taking any steps for gaining audit rights in Pakistan for ACC members?
Can you come again, Rashid? Sorry.
Is ACC taking any steps for gaining audit rights in Pakistan for ACCA members?
देखिए इस पे बिल्कुल I'd like to share that we have started conversations with the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, and you would be very aware that the audit profession in Pakistan is regulated by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan, and the audit firms are licensed and operate through their framework. So to start with, previously, even as of today, the new Companies Act or Ordinance has not taken effect. So if you look at the Companies Ordinance 1984, audit rights are already available, but there is a limit to that, that it can only be done for organizations with a turnover of 3 million, with a paid capital of 3 million rupees. So there is no restriction for ACCS to conduct that audit, and this is something that you would see globally as well. So if I can ask the question, what is the context of this question? Whether they want to set up an ACCA firm, whether he wants to conduct an audit as a ACCA member. So then I think it will be the response can be more directed to his exact query. Rashid, if you could please.
I think Mr. Adil needs to ask that whether ACC members can form an audit firm within Pakistan and start conducting audit of companies on their own, being an ACC member.
वो तो मैंने अभी जिस तरह शेयर किया कि that right already exists under the Companies Ordinance 1984, but there is a caveat to that. So you can set up an ACCA firm. ACCA has already the ACCA in Pakistan has already granted its first ever license for an ACCA practicing firm. So it is very much there, and yes, we are taking up this entire concept, but we don't have any ACC audit firms right now. But ACC have the ability to go for non-statutory or non-audit services, whether that is consultancy, that is ERP, that is risk advisory.
I think Mr. Adil's question has been addressed. We have another question from Mr. Mohammed Ali Shabani. He's stating that he's an ACCA member and a CIA finalist with around 3 years of internal audit experience. His experience includes manufacturing of bottles, steel, and media. And now he wants to move out of Pakistan or in a multinational company. How is it possible?
Can you please share the name of Mr.
Ali Shivani, who is an ACC member and a CIA finalist with around 3 years of internal audit experience. He wants to know how can he move out of Pakistan or start working in a multinational organization with the experience that he has.
There are two ways to go about it. Number one, you have the ACCA jobs board, so it is highly recommended that you should go on ACCA jobs board and have your updated resume over there. Continuously visit them. Thousands of jobs. It is in fact one of the world's largest finance and accountancy jobs related portal. So you would see a lot of global jobs over there. You know your profile. You mentioned that for 3 years you have been in the internal audit. So if you are in the internal audit and if you want to continue in compliance and internal control, so there are a lot of jobs out there which you will have to apply for. So ACCA does help in this regard to the extent that all jobs all placements that are requested through ACCA, we circulate those directly to our members, and then obviously each organization has their own criteria. The first is shortlisting in terms of the resume relevance that they feel, and step two would be the interviews, and within the interviews there's a lot of focus in terms of how well you performed in terms of your competition, whether they are fellow members, whether they are other professional accounting body experts, or whether you have a candidate with you who is an MBA or an MCOM. So there are a lot of job portals out there, but for ACCA centricity, ACCA jobs board is what we highly recommend. Please go, please have your resumes up there. And regarding your other question regarding an MNC, so one is working outside Pakistan, and the other is working within an MNC. So I believe that if you apply the same criteria and you compete along with the rest of the people, and you convince the employer in the interview that you are the best resource. So there is no better way into another organization or a job space. But yes, for that we all have to be prepared in terms of new things or new interview techniques, new questioning techniques, how the employers psychometrically test you, what sort of questions, which in the old days are called trick questions, are put forward to you, and how equipped you are in terms of responding to those, whether it's related to handling a tough situation, whether it's handling a tough conversation either with a colleague or with an external stakeholder, or they give you a practical scenario of how you would operate within the organization had a particular thing happen. So it's all about preparation as well. But there is no guaranteed recipe. All relates to the type of employer as well. If you go to a public practice, their way of interviewing will be very different than in MNC, which is fast moving, consumer good oriented. And if you go to a bank, their way of interviewing will be very different. If you're going into a core finance role, over there the type of interviews will be very different versus, let's say, if you are going into treasury. So you need to be very well equipped to know what type of employer you're going, and you should be fully equipped in terms of the employer knowledge. Today, most of the organizations have their very detailed websites. It's very important to understand what the organization is all about, what is their vision, what is their key objectives, what is it, if they have the financial information up there, you should be aware of that. If they have their products up there, you should be aware of that. If you have there are a lot of organizations which are very which are very CSR oriented, so they would have a lot of different information which tells you how the organization is how the organization culture is. So organizations with a very strong CSR arm, you would generally find them to be very MNC, very open, very candid, very interactive organization. So there is no fixed and guaranteed, but you have to be aware. Mubashir, if there's anything that you would like to say. The question was that he wants to switch a job and he wants to go outside Pakistan. He spent 3 years in the internal audit at a local firm. At a local company.
At a local company. I mean, if it's related to internal audit, yeah. Um, you must have seen lately that in Middle East, they are probably implementing the various taxation measures, and there are organizations who are actually looking for their internal audit. They're looking for internal auditors to look after and to oversee that transition. So there is an opportunity release as well. You can explore that thing. And we have various ECCA members who are actually based in UAE and in Saudi Arabia, and they are already in some of the. Yeah, and there is another thing. I mean, they are also in phase wise they're implementing IFRS, and being a professional accountant, obviously ACCA is always at the forefront, and we are proficient enough to have to grab this opportunity in the Middle East. And in Americas as well, they are implementing IFRS, so there's an opportunity there as well in Bahamas and some of the European countries. They are also implementing IFRS. So we are at the advantage. And being an ACCM member, obviously you are connected. Use your LinkedIn profile and use LinkedIn proficiently. ACCM members are based in obviously more than 170 countries we are present, right? So we have members in more than 770 countries, right? So we are at the advantage. Get yourself connected through LinkedIn to those members and introduce yourself, build your profile, then only you will be able to market yourself.
Yeah, and if we are talking about networking with their members, I think all those members have been coming to me asking for guidance. I've told them to use the strength of the ACCA network repeatedly. The directory that we rolled out in Pakistan and in other countries in the Middle East, despite the fact that ACCA has very, very stringent rules around Data Protection Act, we've still taken a very bold step in going ahead and circulating directories. These directories sort of reflect how well-placed ACCA members are across the industry in Pakistan. And these individuals are your reference points. And I mean, I don't mean that you should start writing emails to them, give me a job, but at least you can get in touch with them and find out more details about the opportunities in those organizations. And if, let's suppose, you're applying in an organization where there's another ACCA member already working, I mean, that member can be your reference point in that organization.
And there's another point around how he is an internal audit. He has specialized in internal audit so far, and is also doing CIA.
Okay.
So his question was also about how to go about to use the ACC job board. That is a very important segment.
Yeah.
And then Mubashir very aptly picked up that LinkedIn. There are so many people who are getting hired on LinkedIn, and there are so many jobs which say specifically that ACC is internal audit reporting, etc., etc. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so we have three more questions. I think you were able to elaborate and address the query put forward by the by Ali Shivani. We have a question from Mr. Bilal. He wants to know, does ACCA and CA Australia New Zealand Strategic Alliance allow ACCA members in Pakistan to earn this CA ANZ membership from Pakistan? He also says that there isn't much information available on this alliance, and would you care to elaborate on it? The question I'm repeating the question is does ACCA and CA ANZ Strategic Alliance can be obtained from Pakistan?
Yes, I'd like to add one point here that the relationship with CAANZ is not in its final shape right now, it's evolving. So the starting point is that those ACCA members who are, first of all, fellow members only and are based in Australia can get CAANZ membership as well. Whereas CAANZ members can avail or can get ACCA membership also. Secondly, there has recently been an alliance over the CPD offerings of both institutions. So our members will get access to the CPD offerings of CANZ, and CANZ members will get an option to use our CPD resources. But like I said, this relationship is evolving, and going forward, we will see more developments. Okay, what kind of developments we can't say at the moment. I mean, I think the best answer to that will be wait and see.
Okay. We have another question from Mr. Salman. I don't think it's relevant to the topic of career guidance, but I'll put forward the question anyway. He wants to know what is it.
Put it for another time. I mean, can we correspond to this member through an email rather? If it is not related to career guidance, let's be specific in this session, please.
Yes, I think it can be addressed through an email. It's not really relevant to the subject matter of the conversation we are having today. We have one question from Mr. Mohammed Ahmed. He says that he is 28 years in age and has 5 years experience in accounts and audit, but his interest is in financial advisory services where he has practically zero experience. He wants to know what advice could you provide him that will help him to switch his career line altogether, and how he is supposed to do that.
Should I take that up? The name is Muhammad Ahmed.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, so it will be helpful if he can elaborate that his 5 years, are they post membership, number one, and secondly, if his area has been accounts and finance, which sector or organization is he working for? If we can have this information, we'll be in a better position to share with him his aspirations for financial advisory services.
Okay, I hope he has heard your question as well, and what you require from him to put forward to us. We have no further questions at the moment. Let's wait for Mr. Mohammed Ahmed to elaborate on his experience in the company.
Okay, so till Ahmed updates, I can share with you that it is always going to be initially a challenge to switch, but if you demonstrate the right skill set, for example, financial advisory services are mostly related to investment banking within brokerage houses, investment banking within banking companies. Then financial advisory is also very relevant to your audit firms or the public practice firms with the financial advisory arm. So they are looking for unique skill set. For financial advisory, you have to be very good with the corporate laws, and you need to be very good with financial modeling. So if you have these a knack for these two things, and you can create a good financial model which can help project the organization's performance and financial position going forward with detailed variables in terms of the nth details of the sales, the input, the raw material, the work in progress, the number of people working for an organization. So you will be in essence drawing a hypothetical financial statement of an organization that does not exist or will exist in future, or a certain business segment that is yet to be initiated or it has to be expanded. So you have to be very, very good at financial modeling, and you have to be absolutely hands-on as far as the relevant corporate and taxation laws are concerned. So if you have this skill set, you apply, and you specifically mention in your resume that it's your interest in financial modeling, corporate and taxation laws that inspires you to apply for this particular position. And once you're given an ability, demonstrate that. But you have to be very clear that with the sort of competition that you have, both from your fellow professional accountants, that is ACCS, or professional accountants from other bodies, or people representing undergrad, there is a lot of relevant skill set available. So you have to be different.
I think, could you please elaborate from panelists from Karachi office? Were you able to hear what I said about Mr. Mohammed Ahmed, that he has 2 years of post-qualification experience, mostly in the restaurant industry?
Now we have heard that. Thank you, Rashid. Rizwan, sorry. Thank you, Rizwan. So, if we say restaurant experience, so can you please share restaurant? Restaurant could be, there's a very fast moving restaurant which is opening new outlets. So that is in essence a mini demonstration of financial advisory. So is that a restaurant which has multiple chains? Does he have experience of helping them set up new outlets?
Okay, I think he has read the question. He'll be answering it in a while. We have one more question from Mr. Adil Nasir. He says that he's an ACC member here and he wants to land a job in a multinational company within Pakistan. He has 3 years of audit experience in Big Four audit firm, but he also says that the job market of ACC is not so well. What advice do you have for him to probably land a job or an interview in a multinational company in Pakistan?
Yes, I think as we were discussing earlier, my first suggestion would be, rather than getting glued onto one organization, you should come up with a wish list of various multinational organizations that work in Pakistan. Do have a look at their current health, their aspirations to continue to work in Pakistan. So, if, for example, you talk about Shell or companies like those who seriously cut down on their business operations in Pakistan, moved out most of the accounting and finance staff to call centers or to other BPO services centers in Malaysia and China. I think you need to stay away from such multinationals at the moment, at least. However, if there are other organizations which are multinational organizations which are growing, you need to look at their website and find out. Most of these organizations have a very transparent intake process, recruitment process. Right? So please go through their website, look at the application process. look at different ways of different kind of openings that there may be. The best possibility of working for a multinational could be through their MTO program. So if there is such a program in place, find out when do they hire management trainees for such, for their what time of the year do they, recruit management trainees. So please be prepared for that, number one. Number two, it is always a good idea to, like I said to you earlier, to find out if there's an SCCA member working in that organization. So that you could do through LinkedIn or through the directory that we've circulated. So get in touch with that member, find out more about the organization. Do not ask that member to do a sifarish for you, because that doesn't go very well in multinational organizations. In fact, if they come to know that you are asking somebody for a sifarish, they might as well put a ban on your application. So that's not a good thing. That's not taken positively. Find out as much as you can about the organization, and that's your best bet. And then find out if you have the requisite skills to attract that organization towards you. I normally find out that ACCA members have a very generic looking resume. It is not tailored for a specific job or for a specific organization. The first thing you have to do is make sure that your resume reflects the kind of position there is in that multinational organization. And then, as long as you can show your interest or your, or let me say, your craze to join them and work for them, I think you stand a very strong chance.
And you see, adding on to what Arun has just mentioned, transparent, yes, it's a very transparent process. MTO is a very competitive process as well. So if you are being hired as an MTO, recently at one of the presentations made by Unilever within the professional accounting fraternity, their CFO very specifically mentioned that every year they hire 25 MTOs, and out of those 25 MTOs, 5 are finance and finance related. Over the last 4 years, Unilever has only been able to hire one professional accountant in the 20 positions available over these 4 years. And the reason that he gave for that was that since multinationals are evolving and there's a lot of focus on people to be very strategically aligned, to be very well conversed, to be able to defend a business case without getting offended themselves, that why somebody is questioning them. So it's a very rigorous process where you are given a case study, a group study, your personality attributes are questioned. So
Psychometric testing.
Psychometric tested to the limit.
Yeah.
So your resume and your tailored resume, which is relevant to their required skill set, takes you in front of the employer. But once you have to be part of their screening process, it is much more than just a single interview. So you should be very well prepared in terms of what their screening process looks like. So you should have the ability to present, to critically analyze, to strategically analyze, and these are all things which he was unable to find in most of the professional accountants that applied. And he said he himself is a professional accountant from England and Wales, having worked in a local accounting body for about 10 years as a senior manager of audit. And he said that he wishes that more professional accountants are able to realize what is needed and to evolve themselves into the needs of an FMCG.
I'll narrate one very interesting example to you, and this is about psychometric testing. I cannot name the organization or the individual who did this, but there was a question in an MTO, in a test for an MTO about women in finance. And that individual wrote at length about why women should not be working. Now, I mean, why women should not be working at all? Why should the culture? I mean, looking at an organization which is trying to keep a gender balance, I mean, I think his was the first application that was rejected. So when you're, I mean, these psychometric tests, most of our members normally are not prepared. I mean, I'm not talking about members, I'd rather say affiliates. Most of the affiliates are normally not ready to take on psychometric tests. When they approach these tests, they think it's going to be accounting, finance, the standards, etc., etc. You'll probably be given a balance sheet to balance or something, but it's not like that. Psychometric testing is testing your inclination towards things, your intelligence, your logic, your rationale, alignment to the organizational culture. I mean, you have to, and only a good study of the organization will give you a good idea on how to attempt such questions. Okay. So my advice to all those members who are looking towards towards multinationals would be to better, read the organization inside out, find out about their culture as much as possible, and then try to answer questions when you're put in a psychometric test. Yes, Rizwan, more questions?
Yes, we have one more question from Mr. Hamza. Before the question we are having right now, I think it's very important for the individuals applying for different.
Sorry, there's one. Can you repeat, please?
Keyboard and mouse. The mouse is working.
Just what's the
Mouse. Okay, can we read the question?
Yeah, the last one.
brother?
My question to Harun Jan is any plan to conduct CPD events on future or equities market?
Equities market, and I think this was one feedback that we got today as well. There was an ACCA member who was a female ACCA member who's not working full time. She is.
The panelist from Karachi. The panelist from Karachi
Rizwan?
elaborated on having a tailor-made CV. जी
रिजवान, सॉरी आपकी आवाज थोड़ा सा लैग कर रही है, हम भी शायद बोल रहे थे, आप बताइएगा अगेन. Can you please repeat what you were
adding on to what's being said right now? I think that in addition, yes, I am repeating myself. In addition to
Sorry, Rizwan, we are
I think we're
having a tailored CV, to have a tailored rate on. Can you hear me now?
just a second.
Am I audible enough?
No, not exactly. We're facing issues in hearing you.
I think there are some internet connectivity issues at Lahore office.
now we can
Let's move to the last question then. I think
You're back, please continue. Your voice is back now.
okay.
So I think
So I was saying that in addition to the conversation that we're having right now from what's
It doesn't matter.
not hear you from.
Why don't we talk about the SECP Jamaat-Muji webinars or the sessions that you've conducted, and that I think will address the question.
Yeah, the last one, thumbs up.
The last one on equity markets.
But I think I got the answer. Thank you very much.
This was Mohammed Ahmed. The last one was about the equity market from Hamza Hafiz, right?
It says my question is any planned equity events on future or equities?
So the SECP partnership, I think that's the one that we're going to use in future I mean, our recent meeting with the SECP, with the Jama Punji team, this was agreed that while we have done sessions in all other cities, Karachi unfortunately did not get one session. So I was talking to the SECP team and they were sort of committed that we'd rather do a webinar pan Pakistan for the equity markets and for people who are interested in investments and all.
And
So, which is what we've also agreed that there has to be a next phase or a next step to the webinars. We've conducted, sorry, the seminars that we've conducted in collaboration with SEC.
We would love to get that going. We have a lot of brokerage firms over here. One of the CEOs is a senior FCCA, and if this is the need of the members, so we can arrange a series of sessions on equities, on market as a whole, and we can do that in a series for sectors as well.
Yeah, and for those members who don't know Asad Hamid Khan very well, I mean, he's our in-house expert on equity markets. And I've sort of asked him, requested him once in the past also to come forward and do a session for us. So, yes, while we're doing such sessions with SECP, we want one with you as well.
My pleasure, and not forget Mr. Mubashir Dagia and his linkage to the equities market as well. So we will get that going and we can get a series of seminars on equities, equity markets, your alternate products like mutual funds, and we can also get the investment banking teams to come in and talk about financial advisory.
Yeah.
So if you want, we can schedule those.
Certainly, I think that's very important. Yeah. And when we are looking towards the performance of stock market and which instruments in the stock market or which shares particularly doing well, maybe analysis of those, etc. I think that would be fantastic, be very useful for members who are interested in the equities market.
And for them to also prepare their internal case as well, because there's a lot that we hear rather than analyze.
True.
So if we're able to analyze the variables ourselves, so we don't have to rely on the 9 to 11 sessions in front of the television.
Right. So thank you very much, Hamza. This was a good suggestion. This is we noted it down, and you will hear from us very soon about these sessions that we conducted. I think that's it. We don't have any more questions. Rizwan, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm online. Yes, we are done with the questions. We have no more questions for the speakers now.
Okay, I think we are. I think it's time also we close the webinar. Any other final comments from any of the participants or any final question? I think we'll be able to take one more question. Otherwise, do give us your feedback about how this session was. Do you think this was useful? We would like to share your feedback with other members. We would, in fact, we were talking before the session with Mubashir and Asad that such sessions can be very informative, very useful if you're trying to tailor your career, especially for those who are new starters, new beginners, or those who are trying to switch industries. These sessions are going to be very useful. Our employer-facing teams, the kind of eye they have on market circumstances, etc., they're going to be very useful, and that is the expertise we wanted to share with you. And at the same time, the work that Mubashir and his team is doing around entrepreneurship, making sure that members do consider being an entrepreneur, right, while they are looking for jobs. I think that work is also very important.
Yeah, as I said earlier, right, there are always two ways. The one is the job, obviously you can get it, and the other way is being on board. So drop your mobile number so that we can add you to that group.
Yeah, those who are interested in the entrepreneurship initiative, so please send in your mobile numbers and we will try to add you to those groups.
We have one last question from Mr. Syed Ali Raza. He's asking that if an ACCA member is planning to move abroad, which country would you recommend, Australia or Canada, in terms of job ability and ACCA members' recognition in that particular country?
You see, it's a very tough question. But if I were to share with you the job recognition, the qualification recognition is equivalent in both countries, but there is a very strong prerequisite for you to be an undergrad as well, because that helps you easily adjust yourself or ease into their own qualifications as well. For that matter, in Canada, you still have a case-to-case pathway for CG and CPA, but for that you have to be an Oxford Brookes University or at least any undergrad, recognized undergrad as well. And same is the case for Australia as well. The same is the case for Australia as well. So the whole idea is that if you have to go to these two countries, number one, you should be very sure why you are going. Number two, you need to be very sure that if it is not your organization which is sending you there, you will have to spend an adjustment period which generally ranges from 6 months to 2 years. There are a lot of people who are even at the stage of fellow ACCM members who initially on their own initiative when they migrated to Australia or Canada had to wait for some time period before they got a job of their preference. So yes, there is recognition, but if you want to do their qualification, you have to be an ACCA and with an undergrad. And last but not the least, be prepared that you will have to give some time before you get a job of your preference or choice. If you get it the first time, then you're very, very lucky.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much, Ali Raza. That's all from our side. If there are any more questions, please direct your questions at members.pk@accaglobal.com. We have a team of experts available to answer your questions. And like I said, do give us your feedback. Thank you very much, and over to Rizwan for any final conclusion.
Yeah, so I think it was a very informative session. We had participants who were not clear about how to direct their career, where to direct their career, how to switch between industries, what are the requisites for applying to a multinational corporation. So I think Mr. Mubashir Dagia, Mr. Harun, and Mr. Asad were able to elaborate on these things, and I hope that many of the confusions have been addressed and clarified, and hoping to have these evening hurdles in future as well to ensure that members' needs and queries are being addressed. So I think that brings us to the conclusion of the evening huddle that we had for today. We'll definitely be staying in touch for more evening huddles with Mr. Mubashir Dagia, who's handling our WhatsApp group as well. Mr. Harun, I would ask you to conclude the session if you have any polls or any feedback questions that you need to put forward to the
Thank you very
attendees.
much for reminding me one final point. We will like to create a separate WhatsApp group for career guidance or for career counseling of members. Right? So I'd say all the members who were present in today's call, we will like to include them in the group. Okay? And we request Mr. Asad Hamid also to lead that group and to assist us in in sharing latest industry trends, etc., with respect to employment with the members. So I think we already have. Rizwan, do we have their data on their cell numbers from the registration doc?
Sir, I'll check that and I'll get back to you shortly.
The cell numbers in the question box, those who want to be a part of it, and we'll initiate the group. Right? Thank you very much. Over to you, Rizwan. The session is concluded from our side. Thank you very much.
It's a very good bye to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us for today's session, and let's wrap it up. Hoping to hear from the members who are interested in the career guidance WhatsApp group soon. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you. I'm really sorry to know that.